This is Bourbon Beer and Books. We are live. We are covering this month Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse 5. So we'll hold this up. This is the version I have. Yep, same version. Slaughterhouse 5. I officially made it almost through the entire book. I am on page 239. See, I'm completely honest. 239. I didn't read the end, so it goes.
And so it goes.
So it goes.
And we're going to spoil it for you.
And so we're going to spoil it for me.
Vonnegut was famous for putting the end up front. That was his whole thing.
That's the whole thing.
And his rules of writing says tell the writer the entire story on the first chapter, and then they don't have to guess if cockroaches eat the end of the book.
Sean, I want to address that with you up front because I feel like he wrote this book for people alive in 2022. The consistent,
awesome.
Yeah, it's there's sometimes short sentences, but then repetitive phrases a lot. For people with short attention spans like we have now, it's brilliantly written for that. And this was 60 something, 1969 when it came out, and the guy was way ahead of his time as far as the style of the prose.
You say that, but I mean, he went through Dresden in what I think it was 1944, and then he worked on this book for years and years, man. 25 years he was working on this book, and he kept thinking that he had to get it out, and it took him such a long time to write it because the subject. So I mean, if you just kind of look at it, like I'll do the plot a little bit later, and you listen to the plot, you're like, that's not a deep subject, that's not something. But no, this book's really about humanity and all the fucked up things we do to each other. I really love it because the best anti-war books, and this is definitely anti-war book, the best anti-war books are written by people who were in the war in some way, not just fighting, but maybe just had to be there. There's amazing Iraqi poetry that came out of the war, written by Iraqis. It's good. I have a couple of those good books, but yeah, and I love this book so much. This is my favorite book. That's why I chose it.
So should be mentioned that yes, the author himself, Kurt Vonnegut, was alive, lived through the Dresden bombings, and this was essentially his way of dealing with it, is writing this fictional book. His writing, though, I tell you, I dog-eared multiple sections because of the way he explained things, like the accident that his wife gets into towards the end.
Yep, Venetia Merple.
Yeah, it's wild because he gives you so much without it in a small space, and the next thing you know, she doesn't make it. So it goes.
But he tells you that front, and then it goes another like 2 chapters before it tells you exactly how it happened. That's what I love about this. Okay, so I wanted to connect a little bit of dots, and I don't want to hijack this, but this book means so much to me. Is like I was talking about, this is anti-war book, and it's so great because it's written by somebody who was in the war, but he's also experienced a lot of trauma. And the best anti-war books out there are they don't go, they're nonlinear. They don't go in a chronological order. They jump around everywhere. This book definitely does. The first sentence in the second chapter is Billy, listen. I love it. He says, listen, Billy Pilgrim has come unstuck in time. If you look at Catch-22, if you look at the things they carried, just pretty much Matterhorn, any other war book, they don't go in linear order, because when our brains are recording what's happening around us in a traumatic event, it records shit differently. And that's where we have, people call it flashbacks, but it's not really as much flashbacks as like when you recall that trauma, when you smell something that was there, or you listen to something, or something, you see something that makes you think about those traumatic memories. It's kind of like an overlay, and you're in both places at one time because your mind records that trauma so differently than everyday life. And so you are simultaneously in 2 different times. And I think that's really, this was written in 69, before PTSD was even, that term was coined in the 80s, and it's the best book that I can think of to say this is what we go through after we go to war and come back. That's why
And those recollections can come back at any moment without other people cannot understand why they come, and only the person inside their head, maybe they don't even understand why those recollections come back. They just do. And you got to live it again.
Mm-hmm.
Sean, I didn't know that. I didn't think about that. So I'm so glad you explained that up front, because I thought it was just his way of being a little wacky or something, with the storyline. But
the aliens
keeping it interesting,
wacky. Hey, but Brent, I just realized that I don't see our names up, and I have a bunch of new people listening supposedly because I just went to that veterans retreat. Especially, I told them we're doing Slaughterhouse 5, so maybe we can all kind of introduce ourselves a little bit.
Let me do that. There we go.
All right.
Yeah, that'll help. And then I can also
thanks, Banyan. Banyan Brandon.
You just have to ask, and then we just throw this stuff on there. Let's see. Let's go to. We'll throw this. There we go. Throw that on there. See, Bourbon, Beer, and Books. There we go. Sean, go ahead. Introduce yourself. What are you drinking, by the way? It's only 2:00 in the afternoon, 1:00 your time.
So no, man. So I'm like, I'm not going to drink any beer. I'm going straight for the Old Forester bourbon. This nice. Was remember when we did The Sun Also Rises? I found out that this was Hemingway's favorite bourbon, and so I buy it every once in a while. This is their Prohibition style.
It's 115 proof.
It's yeah.
It's gonna be a long afternoon.
I wish I was there with you right now.
So when Prohibition happened, these guys still bottled their bourbon. They got a way of figuring out how to bottle their whiskey. They called it medicinal whiskey.
Hell yeah, it is.
So it heals what ails you, man. And I'm coming back from a long week, so I need a little bit of Grandpa's medicine.
Mm-hmm. Grandpa's medicine sounds good. Yeah. Let's see. Let's switch the layout real quick. I just have. I don't know. This was in the fridge. Rooster's Blackberry Cream.
I would drink it too, man.
Has nothing to do with the theme or anything. That's what I got. And then let's go switch to Case. What do you got? See,
I've got my El Dulce. I love the El Dulce.
But it fits with the theme of what we were doing earlier today.
That's true. We were.
What brewery is it?
This is Rooster's too. It's in Brandon's fridge. He's just got a fridge of full beer, so we just mooch up.
Does Rooster sponsor us yet? How could you have?
They sponsor van sessions, and so I actually went to a house party Thursday, and the wonderful, gracious owner has mentioned she wants to talk to us about maybe potentially sponsoring more of the stuff that we do. So,
well, how about bourbon, beer, and books? And plus, I'm all the way out here in Astoria, Oregon, and I know about Roosters. I love them.
Yeah, we love them. They're great. I teach one of her sons, and so we can push it that way. Like
she's obligated to sponsor.
She's obligated. Yeah.
Roosters.
Are you listening?
I will fail your kid.
Yeah. He's a great kid. He's a good kid. Like we had this random poetry and book reading at one of their spots that was like private. And then a band followed up. And he just showed up. He's like 17, 18 years old. And he just showed up and sat next to me. And I was like, hey, dude, what's going on? He's like, oh, my mom said you guys would be down here. And I said, okay, that's really cool. Sat there, listened to the whole thing. It was really, really cool. He's a good kid. So El Dulce, I love it. It's great.
But also introduce yourself and what you're doing, because I heard you're going to be on NPR pretty soon.
Yeah. Case Johnston. We'll be on NPR next week, 6 to 7 p.m. You can live stream it. Or, if you're here in town, it's at 90.1.
Are you guys doing it live?
Yeah, it's live. So it's from 6 to 7, and they're gonna play a song that I had to give them like 5 songs, and I was telling everybody it took me forever to figure out what those 5 songs were gonna be, because and then we're gonna talk about writing and advocacy and all this kind of stuff. And
let me guess, Ben Harper.
Yeah.
Give us. Oh, okay, never mind. I was gonna say give us one, but there we go. Which Ben Harper song?
I'm doing Lifeline from Ben Harper. I think it's a great song. It's a beautiful song. When I have too much wine in the middle of the night, that's the one I post on Facebook. I'm like, this is my go-to.
That's your drunk dial.
That's my drunk posting.
I love
music post.
I love Case's drunk posts, but because I can tell it's like 11 o'clock. Case is on the computer.
Why didn't you like it?
I've been doing better at that lately, at least. So it's gonna be really fun. We're gonna talk about stuff. Talk about books and writing, and I will do some drops for Bourbon, Beer, and Books. So you got.
Oh, definitely.
Well, the host said she's already been listening to the podcast. So that's good.
This
Awesome.
one?
Yeah, this one and literally.
Fabulous.
So that'll be really good. It'll be lots of fun.
All right,
I
Dork.
like my mic's off. Oh, I'm just, drinking Roosters Pilsner. So here we are.
How are they not sponsoring
representing
us?
How are they not sponsored?
Roosters.
I know.
And I also have a little bit of, it's just 40 Creek Canadian whiskey.
No,
there.
but is that
What?
what's it mixed with?
Tea.
I could smell. Okay, I thought it was.
It's
it was
for my
apple
throat,
cider.
because
But
we were recording earlier.
Mhm.
what were you recording?
Mark and I are doing the audio recording for Case's latest book, Let
Mhm.
the Wild Grasses Grow.
They did amazingly. They
So,
did. They're perfect
this
for it.
helps
Yep. Helps with the voice.
the throat coat
Yep.
here.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right, introduce yourself, Mark.
Throat coat.
I'm Mark Garcia. I'm here helping out one of my good friends, Case, recording his book, and Slaughterhouse 5 was on the queue, and I decided to sit in because I thought it was a great book. I read it in college, so it hit me for sure. I know there's a lot of things I forget about, and hopefully I can recall during this session, but it was amazing. It was amazing.
I'm sure it'll come back to you. So, like what Brandon was saying, like Vonnegut is so he's famous for saying complicated things and very simply, and the way that he writes it definitely will come back to you as like, oh yeah, fuck, I remember that now, or you'll definitely see something in a different light as well.
Sean, walk me through the alien abduction. That is wild. Why did he go there?
Right. So, okay. So let me give the plot, and the plot would be pretty simple. It's like this guy who was in World War II. He's just trying to be an optometrist. Purposely the most boring career you can ever pick. That's why Vonnegut picked it. And then he gets drafted. He goes to World War II. While he's in war, his father dies in a hunting accident. He gets shot while hunting, which I think is ironic while his son is out there. This guy, everybody agrees, military agrees, he should not be a soldier. He is the most unfit person to ever wear a uniform. And so they make him into the chaplain's assistant, which in the military. So I served for 12 years. I'm a combat vet myself, went to Iraq and got blown up. And so everybody knows that if you have a soldier you don't know what to do with, you give him to the chaplain as a chaplain's assistant. And his job is to set up like this little organ and play the organ while the chaplain is, doing service for the troops out in the field. And they get caught up, and he's in the Battle of the Bulge, one of the biggest wars in World War II. It is still the biggest mass surrender of any military, any army, and it was us. So we had whole battalions surrender. There was so much bombing and chaos that he's out on his own, and he gets caught up with these 3 other guys, and they're trying to just get away and find someplace safe. But eventually, it's so funny. The scouts leave him, and he gets in a fight with Roland Weary. I'm sure is one of your guys' favorite characters. He's so horrible.
I know.
And then they get captured. And just that moment where they got captured, they're in fight in the riverbed, and these guys are all around them. They're not real soldiers; they're just kind of Germans that got caught up in like, shit, we have to do something. And so he goes to he becomes a prisoner of war, and every prison camp is way overpopulated. So they send him and a bunch of others to just a city called Dresden, and it was one of the most beautiful cities in all of Germany. And throughout their history, it's just gorgeous. There's no military there. And his job as a prisoner of war is to make syrup with vitamins in it for pregnant women. And I think that is such the most ironic job for these guys too.
But
and
they were dipping off of. Yeah, they were stealing. They were.
Yeah, they had like the lollipop and put it in his mouth, and they're so happy. And all of a sudden, Dresden is firebombed, and it's still today the biggest massacre in European history. It killed hundreds and thousands of people. Actually, Dresden firebombing killed more people than either Hiroshima or Nagasaki's bombing, and nobody really says anything about that. I'm not saying them both together, but just their firebombing. So these bombs, what you don't read about in Slaughterhouse 5, these bombs are bombs with littler bombs and littler bombs in there. So when the first bomb lands and explodes, you have all of the fire and police and everybody, first responders coming. These bombs are timed to explode when the fire and the police and the first responders get there, so it kills them. And so there's nobody to respond to anything else. And the whole place is just completely burned. And so after the war is over, Billy Pilgrim, the main character, gets sent home, and he starts becoming an optometrist again. He gets married to a very unattractive, overweight woman, but that's okay. He doesn't care. He has 2 kids. He becomes a very successful optometrist. His daughter gets married, and then he gets abducted by aliens.
Just blows my mind.
As one does.
Yeah.
And he lives on Tralfamadore for a couple years with a porn star, or at least exotic actress or whatnot. And then he gets transferred back the day that he would, like the second night he left, and he lives his life. And then he crashes in an airplane. He's a sole survivor, and his wife dies right after that. And he's just trying to. So to answer that your question the long way, sorry, Brandon, was I believe that these aliens, as far as what Vonnegut was going through, was he's trying to tell us that he had seen so much death in his life that he was trying to figure out a way to deal with it. And the Tralfamadorians, these aliens that look like hands on the end of a plunger, they see in the 4th dimension. So they see your entire life all at once. And so he's trying to say, don't be sad, because they're still alive in the past. And so I think it's just a coping mechanism for Vonnegut trying to figure out.
Well, it's fascinating because through the book, he knows what his whole life is going to be, because he knows when he's going to die. And so that I got weirded out and into that. I was like, dude, what if you could see in the 4th dimension? What if you knew all the things,
I think you wouldn't sweat the small stuff.
How good or horrible or wonderful would that be?
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
And then I thought, man, I got to find those aliens. We got to figure this out.
Find the Tralfamadorians.
The Tralfamadorians, which is a wild name. And
I love that name.
That author character who wrote all those books,
Kilgore Trout,
that nobody bought.
Kilgore Trout is in so many of Vonnegut's books. So is Elliot Rosewater, who Billy Pilgrim sees in the VA hospital. Elliot Rosewater is in like 4 other Vonnegut novels. So he's got like this whole thing, like that he created an entire universe, just not this one book.
I was going to bring in
Vonnegut's multiverse.
Yeah, like Faulkner or somebody.
The man, the myth, the delinquent. It's double
case.
Oh wait, hold on. Let me mute that mic. There we go. Double case. Yeah. In case you're on the double now. I've got you in there. Yeah. So Wild Plot. I had to actually go back and look at the Wikipedia on Dresden, because I wanted to verify some of the facts. The only there's a lot in Wikipedia that talks about all the stuff that he said that he lived through and everything. The only thing he exaggerated was the death count, apparently by a lot. I think they ended up somewhere around 20,000, which is a ton of people. But
he said it was around 400,000.
He said it was around 2 to 4 hundreds of thousands, where I think historians have pretty well. But outside of that death count number, and when you're there, I'm sure it feels like all whatever million people died is horrible. But it's an interesting I didn't know it took him that long to write the book, but it's a super interesting way to deal with that. How many books did he put out? Where was this in his catalog? Was this towards the end, the middle?
No, he wrote up all the way until 2004 with
a man. So this was early on.
Yeah, this was early on. I mean, he did the Sirens of Titan, and that was his first real science fiction book. But he made his career. He started his career with writing articles and short stories in magazines before television was really a thing. I mean, because he came out, he left the military in the 40s, and he was going to be a writer, and then he worked for like GE. But then he started doing books, and Sirens of Titan was not even well received, really. He wasn't really, I mean, this is the book that put him on the map. Although now, because of Sirens of Titan, there's a Vonnegut crater on Mercury named after Kurt Vonnegut. Wouldn't that be cool? You write a book and all of a sudden they're naming, features on another planet for you.
Case, you did not read the book.
Oh, he sold me out. I was trying to be quiet.
I want
Did you
your
see me?
I want your perspective of what you've heard so far. I think it's good.
I was nervous about Sean if he'd be disappointed in me, and I was like, I don't know if I could live with that right now.
Very much disappointed, man.
Yeah, I didn't. I just ran out of time. I was telling them earlier that I'm teaching this AP Lit class, and I have to read all the books with the students at the same time. So I've got like, oh my gosh,
it's like that. Yeah.
So I'm gonna read it though. I'm gonna read it, and then next time we talk, I'll have some stuff to say. And I was just trying to float by, and then
totally blew the cover. Sorry about that.
Have you read any Vonnegut? Have you read any Vonnegut?
I haven't. Yeah, I mean, and that's
why made me read Rama, dude.
I know. That's why I was trying to be quiet over here. I was trying to I
hated every page, man. I was having aneurysm. I read that fucking thing.
I know. I was trying to be quiet. I was just gonna make it through this hour without saying much. I was gonna say interesting things, like, yeah, that's interesting. but without being able to do it, and I felt really bad, so I was just trying to
I think it's better. This is way better content anyway.
You
didn't read it.
Yeah. I'm going to though, and then I'm gonna type up notes.
But what do you think so far of the way we've explained this book?
It sounds amazing. It's really weird. Like, you know how you read certain stuff, and like, I know Sean loves Vonnegut, and I just have not ventured there yet. But I will. I promise. I feel like I'm in trouble.
You're not in trouble.
Well, Brandon read the book.
Well,
it's basically like
I'm
the same
honest.
thing.
I'm still short, like the last 30 pages or something, 20 pages almost. But
like I said, Vonnegut wrote.
There are boobs in this book that he drew. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a banned book from pretty much every. Well, not every state, but it's banned a lot. Here's the boobies.
Oh yeah,
nice.
It's like a bunch of circles.
Montana Wild Hacks boobies.
Did yours have that version?
What Vonnegut said about when they told him that this book was banned, he looked puzzled and he's like, "How the hell could you masturbate to Slaughterhouse 5?"
Well, yeah, I don't know why it's banned anywhere, other than it deals with, adult things like war, but outside of that, I don't know what the issue is.
I don't know. People can't think adult ways.
They'll find a reason. We've already hit the point this year that the amount of challenged books to be banned is more than 2021 the whole year, and almost double 2020. And we're only in September, so they're going after the books this year. That's for sure.
Dory, what's your thoughts on Slaughterhouse 5?
Well, when I finished it, I knew it was going to be a book I'd have to read a few more times for it to really sink in.
Yeah.
Because I thought, what the hell? And I had to read reviews and have other people open my mind, because I thought, what did I just read?
I did the same thing. I was like, what in the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
I did the same thing.
And then it started sinking in. I thought, oh, I see.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm all about the Tralfamadorian. Where the Tralfamadorians?
Tralfamadorians. Yeah.
They were my favorite book.
They were great. Because we've all in our lives, all of us have asked, why me? And the Tralfamadorians like, why you? Why anybody? This is just how it is, man. It's how it's always.
They have it all figured out.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're my favorite then.
Okay, and so it goes, right? That's brilliant.
Well, that was another way of Vonnegut to say, like, you know what? Death just is happening, man. I mean, I don't know. Have you guys seen like how we don't really have death in our lives anymore? We always try to avoid it. I mean, I think that it'd be better if we actually accepted more that we're all going to die.
Well, our culturally, the Western culture just doesn't do it. It just doesn't do it. Eastern cultures, South American cultures, they live with it. They deal with it. It's part of life, where we are really good at just putting it. We're really good at putting it over there. You know, it's not part of us. Where like I said, South American cultures, Eastern cultures, they live with it every day. That's a part of being.
Well, yeah. And then when they pass away, then they celebrate the body,
Mhm.
and people visit it, and it's in their home for days, and they have offerings. And here we're like, ooh,
Yeah.
it's
They
so
respect their
taboo.
ancestors, and they it's even though they're dead, they're still parts of their family.
Right.
Mhm.
Over here, I mean, we're so good at dying too. I mean, our death rate for different diseases is so high. We love to go to war and send our kids to go fight wars and die. And I don't understand why we don't have a better connection to death. So,
I agree with that. I was on the plane the other day, and I told like 20 people that they're gonna die. They kicked me off. I mean, I don't know why people can't.
And then you hit the flight attendant in the back of the head.
I didn't mean right now. I mean,
not this particular plane.
I shouldn't have yelled it, but
while being pantless.
Yeah.
So I have a question. I keep thinking, why did they take him? Why did they take him out?
But that is the question in the book,
that's
right?
the question.
Yeah, that's the question.
Because they have always taken him, and they will always take him.
So is it to get his reaction, to know what humans feel like, to digest the situation they're in? Like, oh, what is he thinking right now at this point?
They are, remember, that's what they always do. That's what they always will do. That's what they've done. And they're locked in a bubble of amber. That's how it's always been. And you're well, why didn't they take somebody else? But that's why Billy's like, what about free will? And the Tralfamadorian's like, I don't know. I wouldn't know what you're talking about if I hadn't studied humans. Humans are the only creatures that believe in free will. And there's a great quote that it's from like early hundreds of years ago, but the quote is that for man, man is the animal whose existence is a puzzle to figure out. The only animal whose existence is a puzzle to figure out. Everybody else just kind of goes with the flow, right? So there is no why.
It just is.
I don't know if I can live with that.
Case, you mentioned this line.
Why do you keep asking me?
Oh. I thought you read the book.
Oh yeah.
Sean,
no, you know what I did is I read it in my mind. I declassified it in my mind.
You can do that now?
I did.
Yeah, you don't go. You don't have to.
You
I mean, you can go through proper measures, but
No,
you don't have to.
I read it in my mind.
Oh, okay.
I think that works. I think that works.
Mhm.
Sean used this line though in a previous podcast, and I'm like, okay. She was trying to construct a life that made sense from the things she found in gift shops.
Isn't that today too, right?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
God, I would love to have Vonnegut in his prime talk about social media today, because that's fucking hilarious to me. Well, I do want to read a part of it, and then Case can feel like he read at least part of the book.
Yeah.
And we can get a response on. This is my very favorite part of the book, and this is in chapter 4. And so what you're talking about, Brandon, when he was like, there's certain things that recur all the time, the blue and ivory feet, right?
Yeah.
The orange and black flags. I don't know if you remember that, but the flags on the train cars that were taking him to the POW camp were orange and black. The flags at his daughter's wedding right before he's abducted and put on a spaceship and flown somewhere were orange and black as well. So I mean, that's the beautiful thing about Vonnegut is like it seems like it's just kind of put there and it's simple, but he put a lot of thought into all of this stuff. But this is my favorite part of it. And this is right after his daughter got married and right before he gets abducted by aliens. And he knows he's going to get abducted. Billy looked at the clock on the gas stove. He had an hour to kill before the saucer came. He went into the living room swinging a bottle like a dinner bell. Remember, like he did in the first chapter with his buddy Bernard B. O'Hare? He turned on the television. He came slightly unstuck in time, saw the late movie backwards, then forwards again. It was a movie about American bombers in the Second World War and the gallant men who flew them. Seen backwards by Billy, the story went like this. American planes full of holes and wounded men and corpses took off backwards from an airfield in England. Over France, a few German fighter planes flew at them backwards and then sucked bullets and shell fragments from some of the planes and crewmen. They did it the same for the wrecked American bombers on the ground, and those planes flew up backwards to join formation. The formation flew backwards over a German city that was in flames. The bombers opened the bomb bay doors and exerted miraculous magnetism, which shrunk the fires, gathered them into cylindrical steel containers, and lifted the containers into the bellies of the planes. The containers were stored neatly in racks. The Germans below had miraculous devices of their own, which were long steel tubes. They used them to suck more fragments from the crewmen in the planes, but there were still a few wounded Americans, though. And some of the bombers were in bad repair. Over France, though, German fighters came up again, made everything and everybody as good as new. When the bombers got back to their base, the steel cylinders were taken from the racks and shipped back to the United States of America, where factories were operating night and day, dismantling the cylinders, separating the dangerous contents into minerals. Touchingly, it was mainly women who did this work. The minerals were then shipped to specialists in remote areas. It was their business to put them into the ground, to hide them cleverly so they would never be hurt, so they would never hurt anybody ever again. The American flyers turned in their uniforms, became high school kids, and Hitler turned into a baby, Billy Pilgrim supposed. That wasn't in the movie. Billy was extrapolating. Everybody turned into a baby, and all of humanity, without exception, conspired biologically to produce two perfect people named Adam and Eve, he supposed. Isn't that amazing?
I love his writing. I love his writing so much. His descriptions, simple. He didn't look like a soldier at all. He looked like a filthy flamingo.
Oh, and that is hilarious because
good.
in this book, Billy Pilgrim becomes more and more ridiculous. You know, in the front, he just doesn't have a gun. He doesn't really have any boots. He's wearing dress shoes. But at the end, he's got like the silver painted coat, this ridiculous coat with fur. He's got silver like Cinderella shoes on. It's insane.
Yeah, I thought of the famous person in MASH who always dressed in drag.
Oh, Klinger.
Klinger. I thought it was Klinger walking around in there the end of World War II, sort of.
Hey guys, I got a question. Who do you think would play a good Billy Pilgrim? You know who has the rights to this movie right now? Last I wrote was Benicio del Toro.
Oh wow.
Has the rights?
Has the film rights to this book.
Yeah, because he would definitely not make a good Billy Pilgrim.
He is not Billy Pilgrim.
Never.
No, I'm sorry. The guy who did Hellboy, the director, has the rights.
Oh, Guillermo del Toro.
Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
he'll do.
Yeah, so he would do Tralfamadorian's amazing, right?
I know. I'd watch that.
I was trying to think of a good actor, and I think who's that new kid who was in Dune?
Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah, that dude would be great.
Oh, would be a good Billy Pilgrim. I agree.
Same.
All right, we called it here first.
Yeah.
I think Guillermo might be a good Treladorian, but
he would.
Make some great Tralfamadorians for sure. Yeah.
I think my mic is muted. Is it muted?
No,
I
I think
it's popping up on there. Okay.
Yeah, you should be good.
But there's a lot of.
I can hear you just fine.
You're talking about reoccurring stuff, like the Tralfamadorian ships looks exactly like the optometrist owl that he uses to test people's eyes.
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah.
No, I didn't either. That's on the third or fourth read through.
Yeah, right.
I've read this
Definitely
book.
not the.
Seriously, I read this book about 50 times.
Yeah. Right behind you.
I'll get there.
Sean, did you like
This
this
is my
book?
Rama.
It's your
It's not your
Rama.
Rama.
You'll never live that
Rama
down.
sucked. I mean, I know this.
This is my Cuckoo's Nest. I know Case reads Cuckoo's
Yeah, I
Nest.
do read Cuckoo's
Oh,
Nest
but
once a year,
Rama
yeah.
2 was really good.
Rama 2 is amazing.
Yeah, it just was written by not the dude that was on the cover.
Yeah.
Part 2.
Yeah, it was really Rama 2, watch out.
Sean, was your fascination with this book, did it happen before or after you went to war?
Well, so that's a great question, and I really haven't thought about that, but I have read it before I went to war, because I started, I joined the military back in 1993. So I read it sometime in the military, thinking like yeah, man, this gets me because I'm in the military, never going to war. And then after I went to war and I read it, I was like, holy shit, there's a whole different, layer to it. So, so when Billy Pilgrim, like he's home and he just weeps. One of my favorite lines is like the was it the miracle fingers jiggled him as he wept. I love that line because he has his vibrating bed. I should have read that. That's one of my favorite lines. But like, you just find yourself home alone and you just start crying, dude. And like, I was like, holy shit, that's not just me. That's been happening because for me, you try to realize why, and it's just you're crying about the humanity and how they have so much potential, but they're so horrible at times, And I don't know. I really identified with everything. Billy Pilgrim was kind of not the soldier that I was. And I want to say this too: was Billy Vonnegut didn't write himself as Billy Pilgrim. He said
well, that's what everybody thought was that he.
Yeah. But you can tell, like all through this book, he puts himself in there. He's like, I was there. I heard that. Me, the guy who's writing this book, heard that. Or me, the guy who's writing this book, he drunk dialed, Billy Pilgrim in the middle of the night. There is a good interview with him saying, like, it wasn't me. And he said the name that the guy was modeled after, who inspired Billy Pilgrim. He actually died in the POW camp. And he said he died of the 1,000-yard stare, where you just kind of give up on life and you just kind of stare off in the distance until you die.
I'm going to read this car crash.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Section because some of you who teach English for a living, this is like how you describe. This is how you describe things. It's unreal. Let me switch. Make it big there. Okay, so not the whole thing, but let's see. The Mercedes lost only so since Case hasn't read this, this is how the descriptions go in this book. The Mercedes lost only a headlight, but the rear end of the Cadillac was a body and fender man's wet dream. The trunk and fenders were collapsed. The gaping trunk looked like the mouth of a village idiot who was explaining that he didn't know anything about anything. The fenders shrugged. The bumper was at the high port arms. Reagan for president, a sticker on the bumper said. The back window was veined with cracks. The exhaust system rested on the pavement. That's a car crash right there. That's how you explain car crashes. That's amazing.
Poor Valencia Merple. Oh man, and he does identifiers like every time you hear him talk about Edgar Derby, he's like, poor Edgar Derby.
Poor. Yeah, poor.
That goes back to the fucking Iliad, man. So does the first line. Well, before he wrote the foreword, which became chapter 1, listen, Billy Pilgrim has come unstuck in time. That goes back to like Beowulf, right? Where the first line of Beowulf, like listen or hark, And like his identifiers for poor old Edgar Derby or Paul Lazaro, who was the car thief, that's like the Iliad, So, and I think it's brilliant because you're describing the person in a way where there's a lot of characters here, but you're automatically going to go back to that one character because he has described it that way before. And
I'm glad you told me it took him so long to write it, because the entire time I was thinking, this is brilliant. Like there's little things in there where like, this is absolutely brilliant. And if he like whipped this out on a weekend, that would be, because there's so much thought.
I'm never going to write another word.
Yeah. I'm like, okay. Mark, what do you remember from this book? I mean, it's a while since you read it. So.
Yeah, it was.
Sorry, I caught you mid-text or something.
Yeah.
That's why I threw to you.
I was looking up great talking points for Slaughterhouse 5. So
I should have done that.
If you just waited a couple minutes.
Okay.
Later.
I'm a little early. We can back to Dory.
He was gonna write them down and slip them to me so I could save face. Like,
I will say,
that's a real good friend. Right
I switched beers. This is a little more apt. It's Meteor Shower. Okay. It's Meteor Shower by Ghostfish, and it says on here, transcend your limits. It doesn't taste very good, but
no.
Yeah,
what if it was
transcend your taste limits,
and
man?
so it goes.
So it goes.
Interesting.
Interesting.
So there was a movie made. I don't recall this movie.
Yeah,
1972.
it wasn't that good of a movie.
No. Okay.
Rama, the movie, was excellent.
Rama 2 was
better.
Was even better.
Rama
they say the
3.
sequel.
This time it's personal.
No, there's 5 Ramas. Jeez, get it right.
That's a lot of Rama.
Rama Lama Ding Dong.
Yeah.
A lot of
yeah.
Rama.
Well, as
one of my
Brandon said, if he whipped it out on the weekend.
Jeez.
That's a quote.
That's a quote.
Direct quote.
Right.
Just
Direct
the Rama
quote from
Lama Ding
Brandon.
Dong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back to you, Mark. Anything you remember from your college reading of this book, other than it was like, what the hell did I just read?
No, I enjoyed. So this is what I remember. So correct me if I'm wrong, though. The ending for me kind of fizzled. It was just there. But
Yeah.
it almost sounded like that's what you're describing, Sean, earlier. That's what it was. I mean, it's like he told the story at the beginning. It's already there, and now he's just kind of, filling in, But I remember that. I remember just being tripped out through the whole middle of it, Yeah, it was
I do like that there's not, he breaks the suspension. In other words, the authors that like you're leading up and I'm going to hold it out and then I'm going to give it to you. And it's like, no, F it. He just gives you, like you said, Sean, right up front, here's what happens. And then you don't have to worry about it. Then you just accept it and move on and kind of go with, so it makes sense that the end wouldn't be.
Twist and Avant, he's like, no twist. Fuck you.
Yeah.
No, he tells you in the first chapter what the last line of the book is going to be. Poo-to-eat. Like, there's nothing to say about a massacre except for the birds go poo-to-eat. That's it, man.
Which I thought that was interesting too. That line, poo-tweet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just the absurd. So you see, so his job, for people who haven't read it, Case, his job after he gets out of the POW camp. So the reason that they survive Dresden is because they're put into a slaughterhouse, Slaughterhouse 5. That's where the whole thing comes from. And he goes into the basement, which is a natural cavern in the ground. And it's so cold, that's where the slaughterhouse puts the meat, because this is before refrigeration, right? And so they hear the bombing sirens, and all of the prisoners and some of the guards go beneath the Slaughterhouse 5, and they're the only ones who survive. That's it. Everybody else is killed horribly. And after the next day they come out, he says it looks like the surface of the moon. And his job after the bombing was to go into places and pull out the dead bodies and then bury them. And he's like, there were like a lot of women and children went into the water towers to try to survive, and because of the fires, they were boiled alive. And so he had to deal with that. He had to go dig through houses into underground and pull out the dead bodies. I mean, that's going to make you fucking crazy, right? I mean, that's insane. That's insane. So I can see why this whole book is disjointed and a little crazy, because so was Vonnegut.
Sean, what are some of the awards, some of the critical, talk about this book over the years that he's enjoyed?
None. I mean,
really?
Vonnegut was shunned because, and this is something that Case can definitely talk on, because in the
Case is shunned
academic world, he had the crime of writing science fiction, and science fiction was seen as genre and not literature. And so he did not really even see the benefits, other than popular as hell, man. Everybody wanted to pick it up, and it's been read in so many classrooms. But he didn't win any big awards that I know of. He wasn't any Hemingway.
I don't know how you read this and not think it's absolutely brilliant, though. It's impossible.
Well, hey, have you taught
nonfiction or not?
Have you been a part of academia? Because there's some badge. In the military, we call them badge protectors. We're like, okay.
That's pretty depressing if true.
So why was it banned? I mean, you say nobody's going to masturbate to, this book, but so what's the reason it's banned? Because it was too violent? because it portrayed the realities of war and what can be, because he swore in it. I mean,
Yeah.
what do you think?
Well, yeah. I mean, he did swear. It's funny because when he's getting shot at with Roland Weary and they're running around, and they said, "Get down, you motherfucker!" And motherfucker in 1945 was brand new, and only the only black soldiers said that. I mean, so you're pointing out race, you're pointing out profanity. You definitely talking about massacred, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people dying. I don't know. I think that I mean, shit, man. You think about even 50 years ago. Well, maybe 100 years ago. I'm thinking 50 years ago was like the fucking 60s.
We're getting old, Sean. That's the problem.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, like, they used to read Paradise Lost in middle school. Now they're reading Captain Underpants.
Yeah.
We're just fucking like, no, they don't need to know about these big things.
Yeah.
Well, off camera, Brandon just flipped through the pages and showed me again the
nudity,
wonderful boobies that are in there. You know what saddens me is that, I mean, he nodded that this is the reason. So parents or people who looked at the book maybe just flipped through it and saw that and it was done. Didn't read the book, didn't know anything about it, and just decided this is not good.
Or they
Oh
say,
yeah,
this is a porno.
Yeah.
That's funny because that's the serenity prayer between those boobs. So there's like prayer.
That's my new tattoo.
You better have it the next time I see you.
It'll be on my ass cheeks.
Don't be all talk, man.
No, they're just scared. No, I mean, this whole banned book thing is they're just fearful that their children will read something and think.
Yeah,
it's that simple. They don't want them to think. They don't want them to, they don't want them to think. They don't want them to. They think that if they read about it, they're going to be what it is, or I don't know how to explain it.
Maybe they were afraid of the whole. There's no free will.
Yeah, well,
this is it.
Well, I would say it's more because this is an anti-war book, and like for our whole country's history, we've only not been at war for like 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
This book was famous though because he did have drawings that he drew in it, and that was the idea. It's part of the book. So like I'm saying, he's ahead of his time. So
that's thousands of people have that tattoo right there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They probably don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
I might not. Yeah, but it was.
In case they're giving you the shit, but hey,
well, luckily I already have the tattoo.
He just got it. He was on the wall of the tattoo parlor, and he's like, "Yeah, that looks good."
I want that flash right there.
He said, "No, the whole chest. No, the whole chest."
I just said, serenity prayer, right in the middle.
No, that was everything was beautiful and nothing hurt, and that was on his gravestone. Because you guys, even if you get to the end, Billy Pilgrim was killed by Paul Lazaro by a sniper in Chicago. You guys didn't get that?
Yes.
Well, I didn't make it to the end. That's my.
Well, it was told around that point where you just showed that was Billy Pilgrim's grave.
No, yeah, because he tells you up front, and then so you just make it to the. That's why probably Mark was like this ending, because he does tell you the ending up front, and
because it ends in the middle with it ends. He tells you the ending in the beginning, but in the middle where it shows his gravestone, that's where he's dead. But then he goes on for another third of the book being dead already because it doesn't matter.
Uh-huh.
Okay, this one, I can't believe I highlighted this section. I don't know if this says a lot about me or the author or what, but I did highlight this section. Billy coughed when the door was opened, and when he coughed, he shit thin gruel. This was in accordance with the third law of motion, according to Sir Isaac Newton. This law tells us that for every action, there is a reaction, which is in equal and opposite direction. This can be useful in rocketry.
Blast off. Yeah.
There's so many good lines in this where he half crucifies himself because nobody wants to lay with him in the train car, and it's like a Jesus figure. It's so good, man. This
yeah.
Please, no. If you haven't read it, read it.
Case.
Well, I'm
going to read it, and I'm going to do notes
it.
for the next podcast. I swear.
Okay, and then you'll know how to find a steering wheel when you're.
Oh, that was hilarious!
That's fantastic.
That was a really good part too. I remember that. So
just flail your arms.
If
I'd only known.
Get methodical. Put yourself up against the left, and then the left door. Just try to keep grabbing until you get to the right door.
Unless you're in the back seat, it doesn't work so well.
Help you if you're in the back seat.
Yeah, I'm not gonna help you.
You're too far gone if you're in the back seat.
But Vonnegut's rules on writing, I go by them. Most of them, not all of them. I don't like to put the whole story up front. I do like to have little reveals, but that's just me. But he's like, every single sentence that you write should do two things: either develop character or add to the story. And I think he does that with everything. All of that tells you what character, who everybody is, and then where the story is going.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, actually, because there's definitely no wasted words.
No.
Well, it's pretty short. How long is it?
200? 300?
60,000 words?
274. So 274 pages. Pooty tweet.
Yeah, I remember the paperback being, slung along with me as I'm walking. It was pretty easy to carry around, which is kind of what I liked, books.
But you know what? Vonnegut knew that, and he did that purposely because of that. People want to put a paperback in their back pocket and not have like this hardcover, fucking pretentious bullshit. He's going to do it. He wants people to read. There are so many. I want to hear what you guys think. That there are so many scenes in this book just be amazing photographs or pieces of art. Like,
well, someone hasn't done that yet?
Well, so people have drawn the Tralfamadorians, but for me, like how he puts together a scene like those two drunk Russians with a horse-drawn carriage full of cuckoo clocks, right at the end of the war. I mean, God, man, that'd be amazing.
Okay, I'm changing my tattoo now.
Yeah.
Just make sure you're still on your ass, though.
Yeah. I think just the image of them once they get caught and they're wearing a hodgepodge of clothes and they sound like they look like Elton John in war-torn Europe. I want to see someone draw that. I want to see a picture of that.
With that dog that's never been to war barking.
Oh, Princess?
Yeah.
She didn't know she was in a war. Yeah, she was drafted. That was so good. It's big, mean German Shepherd, and the whole time you hear her or you hear this dog, because of the cold, he describes her barking like a big brass gong. And then you see her, and he goes into her head with a POV, and she's like, I was drafted. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing here. I'm cold. I'm shivering. I love that. Because you think it's such a mean, horrible monster, and then you see it's like shivering little cold female dog just wanting to go home.
I went to Alaska once, and I remember thinking, I use the same word all the time. I was like, this place is huge. It's huge. It's huge. And as I was reading this book, I used the word brilliant all the time. Like, this is brilliant. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. The line, you know what I mean? So from the descriptions to the lines to the repetitive use of things. And that's why I'm glad you chose it, because I'd never read it before. It was never assigned to me in school.
I'm so glad that you read it, man. That's so good.
Yeah, it's fun. It's good.
I know that you'll be putting up really dumb things like Twilight and Rama, but I mean, I'm really glad you picked this one. Although the Pearl was really short and it was awesome.
Jaws was good.
Jaws was good.
Jaws is good.
We got to do Jaws again.
without an orchestra
Jaws
behind us.
Jaws 2.
Yeah, Jaws 2.
Jaws 2, The Revenge.
No.
That one bit us.
Yeah, well.
Dory, are you picking the next one?
I can.
I would love it. Did you do remote control? No, that was Lee. But remote control was an awesome one too.
That was a good one too.
Yeah.
Sean, your lighting looks really good.
Oh, thanks, man.
What camera is that? Is that your computer camera?
It's my laptop camera with my open window.
Instagram filter number 12 with
221.
Yeah, I was going to say 12. I'm going to say 12. That's solid. I like that look. Do we have to go at like 2 p.m. from here on out, or what's the deal? Because that looks fantastic.
God, man, I don't want to drink whiskey this early anymore.
We've been drinking for the last 2 hours, so yeah, it's all right. Sean, last words. Or can you do this? Can you do your 5-word summary?
No,
we're gonna have Case do that actually.
Yeah, my 5-word summary.
Case hates everything right now.
He had that one prepared, but I don't know if it's going to be.
This is the best anti-war book ever. I mean, I know it has aliens in it and shit, but the aliens part of it and the kind of funny part. So you're right about war, and if you've been in the massacre, you have the tendency to just write about how fucking horrible everything is, right? And how just horrible and horrible. But if you do that as a writer, all you're doing is piling troubles up on your reader, and they're just like, I don't want to carry this. You don't want to carry this. Why are you giving it to me? But if you can add like comedy to, if you can add comedy to the biggest massacre in Europe ever, I mean, people are going to remember what you're writing about, and that contrast between the comedy and the horror of it is really going to be something special, and it was. So just read it. It's an amazing book. It's really good. Read it. You can read it like 5 times.
Dory, you got a 5-word? I don't.
Simple sentences create deep thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's really
simple,
good.
But you're like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mark,
only if you're
Mark, you want to stab at this?
I need to read again.
Case?
I didn't do my homework.
That's really good.
At least
it's really good.
That was a contraction, though. So is that against the rules, or is
I don't know.
No.
We'll allow it. We'll allow it
here.
Yeah.
Right. Break rules.
Sean, thanks so much for this one. I thoroughly enjoyed the book. I'm excited for someone to pick something good. I'm glad I started reading now and not with Rama. Unfortunately, so
he would have never come back.
No, he would never read another book as long as he lived.
Lost our producer.
And I don't know. I mean, if you hadn't read this one, so there was an audiobook by James Franco, and I was driving a lot. I've read it so many times, but I wanted to because I was driving yesterday, and James Franco he's usually a good actor, but it was horrible. He was so bad.
Oh, really?
I started reading it, and then I finished with the audio. Oh, James Franco was the worst.
What made it bad? So that we know, because we're recording an audiobook. So what are the tips?
Yeah.
Why was he so bad?
Okay, so this book goes into different languages, German and French and shit, and like he just didn't even attempt to figure out how you're supposed to say shit. And then he didn't really have a whole lot of. It was just James Franco reading all the voices, as opposed to when we did Cuckoo's Nest, John C. Reilly did an amazing of Cuckoo's Nest. So if you could that guy was in it and you can believe all of it. Franco, you'd think okay, he's an actor. He should probably be able to act this, but no, it's just shitty, man.
He was just lazy, stoned Franco.
Yeah.
That's what it sounded like.
He got paid?
Yeah, he got paid and he shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Terrible.
That's too bad.
He kind of took me out of it. I thought I should have just finished it by reading it, but I didn't have time, and Franco ruined it.
Well, I downloaded it, so I'll read the book. I downloaded it. I was ready.
Stop your excuses.
I know. I know.
You've already been outed. It's too late.
Mark, you got to come back because you only say like one-liners and they're fantastic.
Oh, they're great. We need more comedy.
I was seriously going to try to make it the whole episode, like saying things like if Sean talked about banned books, I could jump in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I did, and you didn't.
I know, because I was.
He was
another excuse.
Shamed. He had been so shamed.
I have been so shamed.
It's better to be outed. Doesn't it feel better to be outed though?
No.
No.
No. Next time I'm going to drink more too.
Okay.
I was pretty sober this time around.
Yeah, last episode.
Oh my god.
The after party was 3 hours.
We sat here for 3 hours.
A long time.
You recorded it? That's a lot of shit to edit.
He's got it.
I have it all, and you'll get like 10 minutes into me like, this is shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we thought we were changing the world.
We weren't.
We all had our headphones on for the whole time too. We were just like we were podcasting. It was really, really bad.
I do want to say one last thing before we go. I'm also drinking Rooster's beer.
That's true. Yeah, hard seltzer though. That's good. I like that.
So good. Yeah. That's usually what I get.
That mojito's fantastic.
Everybody has a hard seltzer. I think like fucking the mayonnaise companies have a hard seltzer.
And if they don't, they
There's
should.
so much innuendos into what you said there. I'm not
Hellman's
going to go
hard
into that.
Well, Brandon, everything you said today was dirty.
Me?
Whip it out on the weekend.
Oh.
Then he's like, yeah, well, I'm going to give it to you. And I'm going to make you take it.
We're still live.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
I'm just glad.
Your mom's
Case remembers
listening.
all these. So, Sean,
That's another book there.
go ahead and take us out.
Well, I just want to say I love that the closest thing that Vonnegut ever wrote to an autobiography is called, that people call it a metafiction, and a non-linear story told by an unreliable narrator. I love this book very much, and thanks you guys for reading it. And I can't wait for next. What do we do it next month, or
Are we doing October?
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
if we do October,
last
I'm
October
gonna pick
we
a horror
did.
book.
Yeah, last October we did.
Something wicked this
No,
week,
that was
huh?
good.
That was good.
How
So
do
we're-
y'all feel about Rosemary's Baby?
Oh, that'd be cool.
Is that a book?
Yeah, it's a Ira Levin wrote Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's
I've
do it.
never read it, so should we? Do
I've never read it. Seen the
I've
movie.
never read it. I've never seen the movie.
The movie was creepy.
Yeah, I
It was
love
well
the
done.
movie.
Yeah, it was really good.
Okay.
I was hoping for like Dracula or something, but
Well, that's
Oh,
long. That's really
sorry.
long.
okay.
I've already read it.
This is great. We'll do that next Halloween.
You don't want to read Dracula.
The reason I love Dracula is because it's the epistolatory. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Epistolary. POV. So points of view, you have first person, you have second person, third person close, third person omniscient, but everybody forgets about the epistolary point of view, which is just through like
I didn't know that was a thing.
Just
I didn't know
letters.
that word until right
All
now.
written in letters.
letters and newspaper.
I like vampires because the transubstantiation that they
Yeah, they do.
do.
What was that word again? What was that word again?
Transubstantiation.
Clark.
Substantiation?
That's the word of the day.
It's got the
Case knows this one.
Transubstantiation.
transubstantiation.
Yeah.
Substantial.
Transubstant. Do you know what that means, Sean?
It's Catholic, I think.
Yeah,
It is Catholic.
yeah.
Good
Yeah,
call.
you're turning wafers into the body of Christ. I
Yeah.
never understood what
Or a human person into a vampire.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
general.
Yeah.
It's just Catholics stole it, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, what?
They did.
I'm gonna go transubstantiate tonight.
Into what?
I transubstantiate all the time when I eat
Some
something. It
whiskey
goes
into
my
pee.
body and
I'm going to transubstantiate whiskey into pee.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes. Cheers. Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it.
Cheers,
Thank you.
John.
Cheers, John.
Okay.
Thanks for
y'all.
having me.
Yeah.
See everyone on the
Thanks
next
for-
That's
episode.
good. You gotta come back. You gotta
Thanks
come
for
back.
thanks for all the shame. Thanks for all the love.
Yep.
You're welcome.
You wouldn't shame me if you didn't love me.
If I sign off now, you guys are not gonna go
We
off.
hurt the
No,
ones
I
we
gotta-
love.
No, I'm just going to sign off the broadcast. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and we are out.